Hey everyone, and welcome to the results livestream for the Giga Coaster Contest. Now, for this contest, all the players had to build a Giga Coaster, what's in the name, and yeah, they were not allowed to use boosters, and they had to use these original Rollercoaster Tycoon 2 Giga Coaster trains, or one of the trains from one of the official expansions. Alright, we got 19 entries for this contest. In this video I will show you all of them. I'll try to keep it short for every entry, but these are large maps, so it may the stream may last pretty long. But yeah, I'll start with the one that got the lowest score, and I'll finish by announcing who's the winner of this round. So, let's go check who got 19th place. In 19th place, with a score of 4.36, we have the entry from Sun2. Now, Sun2, clearly a beginner at the game. He even plopped down one of these pre-builds. I believe it's from the original Walibi or Six Flags Belgium scenario. I definitely don't recommend just plopping down one of these pre-built ones, even in the original colors. Just don't do that. But yeah, this contest is about the Giga Coaster, so let's just focus on that. Here we see the Giga Coaster in the corner. It is a bit fast, but yeah, nothing crazy, I guess. I do think this part is a bit crazy. I mean, there's this fence all around the coaster, probably so the guests cannot actually walk onto the track. And then right here they actually walk into the fence, and here they're standing right next to the coaster. So yeah, I don't really see what the point of that fence is, to be honest. It does definitely make it more exciting. Alright, yeah, other than that, just a few other rides. I definitely recommend Sun2 to play around a bit more with ground textures and decoration. Alright, then in 18th place, with a score of 4.61, we have the entry from Bananat. Now you can see the Giga Coaster from Bananat. It's pretty big, goes all through the landscape here. Let me quickly change the music. I don't like this song. There we go. Alright, yeah. I quite like the landscape itself, but the decoration is a bit yeah, sparse. Definitely some rocks, even maybe some dead trees or stuff would have definitely made this entry look much nicer. I think the highlight of this entry is actually this little statue here on top of this mountain. That just looks super cool. I definitely wish there were more of these throughout the map. These buildings, oh, there's a consistent style to them. I do like these little gardens here, that's pretty nice. So, it's a pretty empty map with a few things that actually stand out. I also really like the cool dude, so it's nice seeing a cool dude in the map. But yeah, I definitely could have used a bit more decoration in these areas around here. Also, the trains are hilariously long. Alright, then in 17th place, with a score of 5.03, we have Matt M. I think Matt M actually reached the height limit. I cannot really show you it if I zoom in, because the screen won't allow me to show you this. It's that high. It's hilariously fast as well. But yeah, what you will see when you go to this insane height is that, yeah, the game doesn't really allow for very smooth turns anymore. So when I was watching this coaster, it kind of reminded me of the Tron movie. In that it seems to take all these very abrupt turns. So yeah, that's definitely a drawback of building so high. It will look extremely janky and jagged. Yeah, support structure quite insane. This is obviously quite a joke entry. So yeah, I do respect that. I think it's a really funny entry. Alright, and let's go check which ride got 16th place. And in 16th place, with a score of 5.24, we have the entry from Bowen. And he made a Hunger Games inspired entry. You can actually see some dueling going on here, which I think is pretty nice. I do think he should have named this coaster. Well, now it's named Giga Coaster 1. I'm sure you can come up with a more inspiring name than that. I think the dueling is actually timed pretty well here. So that's nice. I think this part is looks very janky. Goes up the lift hill here. Here's another lift hill. These hills, they just have some weird shapes to them. I'm pretty sure this is to make sure the timing goes correctly. But yeah, it does look kind of weird. Yeah, and I think this is probably District 12 or something. Here's a nuke that supposedly went off. I do like that there's a little peep scene going on. But yeah, I definitely recommend to name your rides. This is also a bit weird, probably not probably doesn't look very nice to have this fence here at the park edge. Just click the cheat to own all land and you won't have a weird edge like this. So yeah, definitely some improvements could have been made in this map. But the dueling is nice. Alright, then in 15th place, with a score of 5.94, so we make a small jump up. We have the entry from Clam. Now, if we stay zoomed in, this entry actually looks really nice, I think. It's inspired by Thunder Dolphin, which is a Giga Coaster in Japan. I believe it's right in the middle of the city. But yeah, when we zoom out, you can see why this map didn't score very high. That's because it's mostly unfinished. I think Clab could have actually made it score quite a bit higher by just black tiling this outer part. But yeah, I do think the part that was finished actually looks really cool. I love all this extra structure under the coaster. I think it looks great. So I think the support work is also pretty nice. Some nice buildings around it. Also like the shopping center that's right here in the middle. So yeah, I really wish Clam had more time this round, but the part that he built actually looks really cool. Alright, then let's go check out who got 14th place. In 14th place with a score of 6.58, we have the entry from Safi Adam. Now, I believe I read something about Safi Adam also running out of time a bit. But that's why the decoration on the outside is also very minimal here. At least he did have the bright idea to black tile a lot of the map. So that definitely makes it look a bit more finished. But yeah, here's your typical Intamin Megalight. That's a very short train, but nice and fast layout with some nice airtime hills. That really reminds me of the coaster Piraten, which is probably what this layout is inspired by. Now, and then there's also some other rides. Here we can see one of these Screaming Swings. And here we can also see a little Eurofighter ride. But yeah, definitely wish the outside was decorated a bit more. I do think the layout of the coaster is really nice. Alright, then let's go check out who got 13th place. And in 13th place with a score of 6.79 is the entry from Horror Girl and Express CS. No, they made this huge Giga Coaster. It does look a little bit cramped because it's almost up to the map edge here. And it's also almost up to the map edge on this side. It does look a little bit squished in. But yeah, it does have a nice and big layout. Also some interesting support structure with these lattice supports under the coaster. Yeah, pretty big layout. I quite like the first half mostly. But this part over here, yeah, probably a bit too many helixes here for my liking. When you do a helix, I think usually at 360 degrees at most is probably best for if you want to make your layout realistic. That is, I'm pretty sure some will do bigger helixes, but yeah, I think that's pretty much the limit for what looks nice. Right here we have a big parking lot as well. I think it's quite nicely done. Also some other rides. Here we have this wooden coaster. It does look a little bit like a big knot of track over here. Not really sure if this is your typical layout for a wooden coaster, but it does look quite impressive. Now also see this family boomerang over here. I think this is actually one of my favorite rides in the park. I really like the location here. And yeah, I think it actually looks like a super nice ride. I also really like how they did the station for it. Alright, to everybody who's just joined, we're checking out all these sparks that were made for the Giga Coaster Contest. And yeah, welcome everybody to the live stream. Alright, let's go check out who got 12th place. In 12th place with a score of 6.88. We have the entry from Shedderman and Supplucky. Now, Shedderman has joined a few contests, I believe. Supplucky, this is Supplucky's first contest. I'm sure they are friends. So this entry is taking place on the Machu Picchu, which is a big temple complex in Peru. And I really like how they laid out the map. It's very mountainous. Over here we have a big rock sticking out, and the rest is more of yeah, more flat. I also like how they did these ridges here with these ruins pieces. Lots of ruined temples over here in this area, and it's this area. But here we can actually see this temple, which is still in good shape. And I really like how they did this one. Also really nice with this little bridge, which the coaster passes under. But yeah, this is definitely one of my favorite parts of this entry. Coaster also looks really nice. I like the support structure. It's always nice when people do some custom supports. I think these are done in a nice way. But this is just a really simple way to do some nice custom supports. Just put some of the single rail coaster track, and at the top just go to vertical. I mean, you do get a little bend here, but I think it looks triangular enough. I think this is a good way to do it. And then over here we have some mazes with a helicopter ride. I do think maybe they could have made the trees over here at the bottom part look a little bit more dense. I think that would have looked a little bit nicer. And then here at the top, where there's lots of these single squares, probably best to not have these trees on it, because it really makes them look yeah, spread out. Just a little nitpick. But yeah, overall I think this is a super cool entry. It also has lots of llamas. Alright, and then we get to 11th place. And in 11th place, with a score of 6.92, we have the entry from Solex. Now, Solex actually made his entry in the scenario Fourth Anachronism, I believe. Not really sure if he used the actual scenario, but this is what his entry is called. And I really actually liked the fort that he built over here. I think it looks really cool, also with these pyramid pieces. So the antenna on top, the launched freefall. So these mazes around it, the cannons. Yeah, that's a super cool part of his entry. You can also see the double railway. I believe the original scenario also has that. And this railway station is actually one of my favorite buildings of this entry. Now, of course, there's also a Giga Coaster. Solex used these roto-drop supports for the Giga Coaster. I think if he used the observation tower supports, which are a bit more slender, I think it would have looked nicer. Of course, you still see these tops through it now, which looks a bit janky, but I think this size would be more appropriate. Let's change it back to how it was. But yeah, I think it's a quite nice layout. You can see some more of these thick supports. Also some more of these poles. I think I don't see any single rail coaster being used here. So I think Solex stuck to some to a more limited object set. Maybe he just didn't want to use the single rail coaster track. I don't know. Hey, here's a little junior coaster. Here's some other nice buildings. And overall, I think it's a pretty nice entry. Here you can see some of these, a pair of steeplechase coasters using the motorbike vehicles. Here's also this really twisty go-kart track. Of course, only made possible because we now have these new track pieces. Yeah, I think especially this steeplechase track also looks pretty nice here. So yeah, really nice work. Alright, then we get to 10th place. And in 10th place, with a score of 7.03, we have the entry from Danielle the Dragon. Alright, here you can see the Giga Coaster from Danielle the Dragon. Quite an interesting color scheme. And I also quite like how this support structure here for the lift hill looks. This tiny part that goes vertical does look a little bit janky, but overall I think it looks pretty nice. Now here you can see the rest of the layout. It's a pretty compact layout, quite a lot of diagonals. For the height that it has, I think maybe Danielle the Dragon could have done a little bit more with his coaster. I think it has enough speed to do a few more elements. The layout is quite on the short side, I think. Now, I do quite like how the map is laid out. The coaster sits here in the middle of this path. So it definitely is the center point of attention for the park. Now, I think this path was supposed to look nice and rounded, but I think these wooden post fences don't really help that. Yeah, they really highlight the zigzag of the path. So maybe these fences were not the best choice here. Now, at least he was pretty consistent. I do like the foliage around the park. I think that is definitely one of the highlights. Now we also have a nice little reverser coaster over here. I think it's also done pretty nicely. It even has these support footers. Okay, here's a little go-kart track as well. I think it's also a pretty nice location. I like how there's this path in the middle for the mechanic. Yeah, overall I think it's a really nice entry. Alright, then we get to 9th place. And in 9th place we have someone who we see in almost every contest. With a score of 7.26 we have Lurker. Now here we have this Giga Coaster which travels throughout this island. has a very recognizable style. Yeah, you can see the landscaping, of course. All the buildings. Lurker also has a typical style for his buildings with these rounded roofs. Yeah, this is a beautiful landscaping. Lots of nice foliage throughout the park. Lots of nice gardens. And here's also this cool little shuttle ride. I like how Lurker did the layout of this ride. It's pretty nicely done. Also some simple supports. Also, this park was actually made without cheats. It's a SV6 file, so it was actually made in Rollercoaster Tycoon 2, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, I think that's also all the more impressive. It's definitely difficult to make good-looking supports without using cheats. Yeah, I think it's really impressive what Lurker put together here. Alright, then we get to 8th place. And in 8th place, with a score of 7.38, we have Techno Kiwi at 91. Now, I think this map is really nicely decorated. And the Giga Coaster, once again, is a nice center point of the park. I do think it looks a little bit janky in a few places, especially this first hill after the first drop. I think it ends a bit early and has this weird flat shape on top. I think this first hill probably should have been a bit higher. Also, here's another one of these hills that looks a bit like it's missing its top. But other than that, I think it looks pretty nice. I quite like how Techno Kiwi did the support structure here. This definitely has an interesting shape and also looks quite nice with these custom trees here in the middle. Now, I think the foliage is also done pretty nicely. Yeah, when you zoom out, however, yeah, you do start to notice these patterns. I think something which I can recommend, just a small tip, is to try and clump up the foliage. So, for example, put a few more of these orange, or a few more orange-colored types of scenery together, and just make little islands instead of spacing everything out. One example of that is also, for example, in these waterfalls. They just look evenly spaced out here, which kind of makes it look unnatural. So maybe if you had 2 waterfalls close together here, maybe 3 here, I think that would have made it look a bit more natural. Just some general tips. But yeah, I really like the vibe of this park. I like the colors. And yeah, it's just a very recognizable scene as well from Techno Kiwi. Really nicely done. Alright, then we get to 7th place. And in 7th place, with a score of 8.23, so we make a jump up of almost 0.9 points. We have the entry from Beautiful Monday. Now, Beautiful Monday made this great looking layout. And, oh yeah, the map is actually mostly just grass. But I think it's done in a really nice way. These different shades of the foliage were actually really nicely done. I believe the parts that are higher up are a brighter color, and the deeper parts, or the parts that are in the shadow, are a darker color. I think it actually works really well. Also, the support work, incredible. I especially love the top of the lift hill over here. That's just so incredibly nicely done. Layout of the ride, also super nice. Definitely deserves the name Giga Coaster. But yeah, also the station for the ride, pretty nice. The queue, not really sure about. You see a lot of guests walking right after each other here in a conga line. But yeah, I do wish there was some more stuff in the map to see. But still, I think it did score pretty high. And overall, I think it's a super nice entry. Oh, I see a comment about the non-functional transfer track. Yeah, it does not actually look like a transfer track that could actually work. I don't see a way how this track could, or how a train could ever shift to this part. So yeah, that might be something to to keep in mind next time. Make sure that the transfer track could actually work. Alright, then we get to 6th place. In 6th place, with a score of 8.34, we have the park from the thumbnail. This is the park from Janderman, 227 and Michelle. And yeah, I just really like this part with the support structure and this first bend. And that's why I liked using it as the thumbnail. I do think this part over here looks a bit derpy, but that's probably has to do with their shoestring. Because they actually decided to make their station on a diagonal. So that means there is some shoestringing going on. Now, I really like the support structure, or it said that, especially here for the first part. But for the rest of the coaster, it also looks really nice. You can see some of these tall footers under here. And yeah, the layout just snakes through the map here. I actually like how it goes over the waterfalls here. Also in between the mine train track. And yeah, overall it's just a super nice entry. It also interacts with these ruins over here very nicely. Here at the end, at the final brake run, you can also see it go into a gate here to the castle. Also, yeah, the castle section also done nicely. I really like how they did this bridge here. I think these are some vehicles. You can see vehicles being used as architecture more and more in these entries. And here's another good example. It's just very clever. Now here we can also see a really cool family boomerang. Very nicely decorated in this medieval style. Also with some of these farms below it. And here we also have this beautiful mine train. That's also really nice. Now here in this section we can see some rivers. This is another trick we see more and more often. People just put a log flume or splice boats ride and make the track invisible, so you're just left with this water. And that actually works really well as a river. But yeah, there's definitely some differences between this part over here, which is all nice and flowy, smooth. And then here you have these straight edges. So maybe this could have been smoothed out a bit as well. Maybe also some river rapids track here under the water to make some white water here. Probably could have smoothened it a little bit. But yeah, overall just a super nice entry. And these guys can be proud of what they created here. Alright, then we get to the entry that got 5th place. In 5th place, with a score of 8.53, we have the entry from Gustaf, Goblin and Infinite Sadness. Now, they created this Giga Coaster, which is underwater. I really like the vibe of this map, a really nice atmosphere. Yeah, quite a nice palette that was used. Also, you can see the blue haze here in the background. And Giga Coaster also has a beautiful station over here. This building looks amazing. And the lift hill actually takes the coaster out of the water here. I really love how they did the supports here. Now, sadly, because of this effect, I had to make it pretty tall. So that's why, in my opinion, this coaster is way too fast through most of the layout. Even here at the top of this hill, it's going almost 100 kilometers per hour, which is definitely a bit too fast. Lots of really nice structures, lots of flowy walls, lots of curves being used. I especially like the path structure over here. Some other cool rides as well. Here we have this submarine ride, traveling in between these temples. You also see some nice coral here on the walls. Now, when you place walls like these, using these canyon walls, it's probably a good idea to try and make it look a little bit more irregular. So replace some of these walls by some more of these curved pieces. And also there's different types of walls, so definitely a good idea to try and mix them up a lot. So right now it does look a little bit, yeah, you can definitely see patterns over here. And I believe the same happens here on the backside as well. Yeah, something which I like is how they made these cutouts here. You can see this dark right here inside this hill, which I think is also really neat. But yeah, overall, just a super cool entry. Alright, then we get to the top 4. In 4th place, with a score of 8.69, nice. We have the entry from Mamaria San30. Now, this entry is it's somewhere in the future. I believe nature has taken over a lot of the land. And yeah, I guess humanity decided to build a coaster here with whatever materials they had at hand. Yeah, I love how they did the supports here for this coaster. It definitely looks cobbled together. And at these lower parts, they actually just use tree trunks here as the supports. I think that's such a cool detail. Yeah, definitely makes their entry very unique. The layout of the Giga Coaster also pretty nice. Especially love this section where it does this double spiral around this big tower. This structure also definitely looks cobbled together. You can see lots of junk being thrown here. It's just such a cool detail, also with all these cars here. Yeah, this is just super nicely done. Very cool atmosphere. They even used some of these Wild West buildings here to make this bridge. Does look a little bit glitchy when the guests pass over it, but the floor pattern looks pretty cool. Now here we can see some work being done with these machines to cut down these trees. Also very funny. Also some other rides here. Here we can see a smaller coaster in the middle. Some other smaller rides. You can see a marketplace. Yeah, this is just so nicely done. There's nice decorations everywhere. I especially love how they did the foliage here. That's super nice as well. Yeah, just a really cool entry. Also, I like how they did the catwalk here. I believe these are just vehicles right next to the track. Another cool little detail. One of my favorite parts is actually this station, especially how the coaster passes over the station. That's just yeah, really neat. Alright, then we go check out who got 3rd place. And in 3rd place, with a score of 8.83, you have Bananat, Hypnopia. No, I'm a really big fan of Hypnopia's work. This is just his 2nd entry on one of my contests. And what he just puts together looks incredible. I love the support structure for this coaster. Also the layout, super nice. I'm especially really impressed by the landscaping in this entry. That looks absolutely incredible, also with all these volcano rocks. Also the foliage, just incredible. The support work here, also incredible. I like this little turnaround with the temple in the middle. Also, you see all these little streams going through the entry. Yeah, this is just incredible. Also, these tunnels, I think they're super well done. So definitely one of my favorite entries. And here at the end, where the coaster is a bit slower, you can see this mini coaster track was used here. Station, pretty simple, but also looks great. I love the Asian theme in this entry. These buildings, they look fantastic. Yeah, I just love everything about this entry. You can also see a secondary coaster here, which is one of those surf coasters, I believe. So basically one of those B&M stand-up coasters. Another beautiful station over here. You can see also some these backstage areas. So with a few peep scenes. Yeah, Hypnopia is definitely turning out to be one of my favorite builders in these contests. I don't know if he had any previous experience in this game, but I definitely hope he keeps joining these contests in the future. This is just magnificent work. Alright, then there's just 2 entries remaining. I will first show both of them. After that I will reveal which one is the winner of this round. Alright, the first entry I'm going to show you is the one from Pacific Coaster and Steve. Pacific Coaster joined one of the park creation contests on my community before. And Steve hasn't joined any DKMP contests yet. Now, they went for a pretty compact layout. Yeah, it all fits in this screen. And I believe this is one of the most compact layouts that anybody made for this contest. But I actually think it works really well. I love how they did the lift hill structure here. They actually used a really cool trick here. So if I'm not mistaken, these planks are all rowing boats. Not sure if I can actually show it. Well, I'll probably mess it up if I show it. No, actually I had the wrong ride selected. There's just so many different rides used to create this this trick. But yeah, this is just so nicely done. But also the support structure here looks great. I love how they did the landscaping here as well. That just looks insane. Lots of these meteor crater walls. Beautiful foliage on top. And yeah, the coaster passes by all these ruins. I really like how it travels around this structure here. That's so cool. I believe this is also the entrance for the ride. So probably the queue line passes under and through here. Yeah, when you go through a real ride, often the queue is also a significant part of the experience. And yeah, I think they definitely nailed that here. The guests walk through all these ruins as they go to the entrance of the ride. Oh yeah, lots of cool tricks being used in the park here. Here's a cool trick. So they used these tops of the river rafts. They just made the rest invisible to make these really cool shades for the seating area. They have these really nice buildings. Here's more of these river rafts. Lots of backstage areas as well. That's quite nicely done. Here's another ride, Scream and Swing, but they just decorated it in such a nice way. Beautiful foliage. Oh, here we also have a water area, which I think they also did really nicely. Also some underwater stuff. Probably some expansion scenery under here. That also looks pretty cool. I also really like how they did the footers here under the coaster. Yeah, there's just so much cool stuff to see here in this small area. very high density. I definitely recommend checking out this entry for yourself. You can find all these entries on my website. You can find a link to it in the video description. Alright, then let's go check out the other potential winner. Alright, the other potential winner is this entry from 94 Supreme Posse and Madazog. And they created this really cool entry. See some inspiration from Thunder Dolphin, with it passing over the roof and through this little cutout here. And I also see some inspiration from the Big Apple Coaster. Mamaria's made an entry with the Big Apple Coaster several years ago, and this definitely has those vibes. A very tall Giga Coaster. I really like how it passes through this sign here. And yeah, there's lots of references to Fallout New Vegas in this entry, one of my favorite games. And I love how they did this sign here, for example. This is Nuka-Cola, and that's just so nicely done. It's quite difficult to make these texts using different signs. And yeah, I think they nailed it. Also, these supports, they also look really cool. Not even sure what objects they used here. But it looks really nice with these colors here. Lots of other signs here. All referencing stuff that you can find in Fallout New Vegas. Here you can see the Lucky 38 casino. Yeah, here we can see some other stuff. Here's one of my favorite parts of the park. Here's this beautiful sign. Welcome to fabulous New Vegas. Also a log flume over here, which travels through this rocky structure, which is also shared with the coaster, by the way. And then of course there's also these buildings here in the middle. I do think these buildings maybe could have used a bit more structure to them, instead of just being straight up here in the middle. Maybe a few more levels to it. Maybe a part that would stick out here or something like that. I think that would have made them stand out a bit more. For example, this building, I think this looks really nice. And then here we have a pool, lots of guests in it. And I believe they have all been named after members of the TKMP and NE communities. And then of course there's also this trick that Madazog likes to use, which is all these colors to make it look like the light is shining out from the building to the outside. Yeah, just lots of cool different tricks used in this entry, and I think it's a really beautiful entry. Alright, then it's time to reveal which one of these last two entries is the winner of this round. Is it the entry from Pacific Coaster and Steve? Or is it this entry from Madazog and 94 Supreme Posse? Let's see, I should have an application somewhere that to do a soundboard. Let me quickly find it. Soundboard, yeah. It's a bit janky. Alright. I think we now have a drum roll that I can click. Alright, the winner of the Giga Coaster Contest is... Pacific Coaster and Steve. Alright, let me quickly bring up their entry again. So, Pacific Coaster and Steve got a score of 9.52 with their entry. And Madazog and 94 Supreme Posse got a score of 9.29. So yeah, Pacific Coaster and Steve got an absolute monster score. And yeah, this entry is just beautiful. Just so full of details. And yeah, these players are both very experienced. And it's nice to see what they're able to do with this DKSO workbench. Very impressive work, but also very impressive work from a lot of the other players. There was some really cool entries this round, and yeah, you all did a great job. Alright, I want to congratulate Pacific Coaster and Steve with winning this contest. Absolutely wonderful work. A new contest will start soon. I hope to see many players joining that one as well. If you liked this stream, please give a like. It would really help out my channel. I would love to hear in the comments what you think of these entries and which one is your favorite. And if you want to stay updated on these contests, you can always subscribe to my channel. Alright, that's going to be it. Hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you again in the next one. See you later.